Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, I'm Nurhidayanti. Today, I'm going to tell you about knowing of the short story A Rune Pet by Eudora Welty. Keep on watching. The first is character. Phoenix Jackson. Phoenix is our main character and heroine. Too, she doesn't fit the usual description. The grandson. At this point, you might be flipping back through the story looking for the place where Phoenix. The hunter. The hunter is the only person Phoenix speaks to on the country part of the pet. The attendant. The attendant is the first character to speak to Phoenix when she enters the doctor's office. The nurse. The nurse recognizes Phoenix immediately and she is familiar with her grandson's case. The shopper. The shopper is a very minor character. All she does is stop for a couple seconds to tea. The second is plot. A Rune Pet is a short story by Eudora Welty. It was published in Atlantic Monthly magazine in 1941. The story describes a journey by an elderly black woman named Phoenix Jackson, who must walk a long way in the Natchez from her home in rural Mississippi to retrieve medicine for her grandson. The third is conflict. The main conflict in A Rune Pet was the long, dangerous journey made by Phoenix, an old woman faced with the challenge of taking care of her sick grandson. Her grandchild swallowed and required medication that was to be fetched from a distant town. The fourth is setting. The setting in A Rune Pet, a short story by Eudora Welty, begins on a wooden trail in southwestern Mississippi on the Natchez Trace and later moved to the town of Natchez. The story takes place in the winter of 1940. The fifth is theme. The main theme in A Rune Pet are racism and duty versus love. Racism, the other characters look down on Phoenix due to her age, race, and class, demonstrating their own cruelty and intolerance. The sixth is analyzing plot. Orientation. Phoenix overcomes obstacles as she walks along the path. Rising action. The rising action begins after Phoenix faces her first obstacles, which make the rising action the longest part of the plot in the story. Climax. The nurse gives Phoenix the medicine for her grandson. Falling action. When a dog startles her, Phoenix falls into a ditch. A hunter helps her up and tells her to go back home. Phoenix picks up a nickel and hunter drops. Phoenix continues her journey and reaches Natchez. At the doctor's, she nurse asks about Phoenix's grandson. Resolution. When is the resolution? The story is resolved when Phoenix decides to get her grandson a paper windmill, then head home by way of the trail. The seventh is plot summary. A run path is told in the third-person point of view, in which a run path follows an elderly African-American woman named Phoenix Jackson as she ventures toward a town. The story is set in Natchez, Mississippi during the Great Depression era, as Phoenix journeys along the Natchez Trace. She periodically encounters many obstacles, including thorny bushes, barbed wire, and Langer's dog. Among others, she meets a hunter pocketing a nickel that he drops and a lady who ties her shoes. The story concludes with Phoenix arriving at the town having completed the journey yet again. Her motivation for having done so is also revealed as she laments her grandson swallowed. I imagine his throat from the reaction. She tells the nurse supplying the medicine that the damage to his throat never fully heals, and ever so often his throat will begin to swell shut. It is old Phoenix's love for her grandson that causes her to face the trial of the journey to town every time it is necessary, with no questions asked. And the last is the moral message of the story is race and class. In its description of the journey of an impoverished black woman in Mississippi, a run path explores the realities of race and class in the South at a time when slavery was still within living memory. The description of race in the story is not simplistic. Okay, that's all the story A Run Path by Eudora Welty. If there is a mistake, I'm sorry. And the last I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.